The scene is set in Nobility Hill, the domain of John Stanhope, Primogen of the Ventrum. The dreary sun of New Sarum sets behind the landscape, and the glorious blue sky starts to dim and turn to purples and then blacks. The lights turn on. The retainers begin their usual work in preparation for the master to arise. John has always been a late riser. Well, since his fateful trip to London at least. Some inner part of him, the slumbering beast, never allowed him to go up like he used to in the twilight of dawn. And so when the sky is fully black, the lights turn on automatically, the fake fire appears, and John rises from his light-proof room in his comfortable king-size bed. He staggers up, rubbing his eyes, reaching haphazardly towards his glasses, and heads into the shower. Once he has refreshed and dressed, he returns to the small breakfast bar where he is served his usual routine of breakfast. Fresh toast, buttered, a fresh pot of coffee on the side, as well as a large, tall glass of Vitae. The toast and the coffee is merely aesthetic, a habit John's never really been out of since he's come into money. He enjoys the smell, the routine of it. And one of his retainers comes in with a stack of newspapers. John quirks an eyebrow curiously. Geoffrey usually serves him his breakfast in the mornings, but he is mysteriously absent, replaced with this small, middle-aged woman. John inquires, "Where is Geoffrey?" The woman stammers, "I'm afraid, sir, that he was called on an errand and asked me to take his place." John shrugs. Despite the grogginess of the morning, he feels light-hearted. These last few evenings have gone exceptionally well for John. His rivals are either moving away or deciding to bury themselves in their own failure. He runs one of the most powerful clans in the city and seems to slowly be gaining the trust of the new prince, all the while courting the Tremere, the opposition, leaving the venture in the perfect place, on both sides, waiting to see which one will win out. This good mood is dampened slightly with the loss of people that John has respected, but New Sarum is a city that is always full of death, and one who cannot move past it will surely drown within its depths of sorrow. John takes a large swig of the Vitae, infused with caffeine and a zestiness of lemon, perfect for breaking one's fast, making one alert in the morning, and to head out the door with a spring in one step. He moves over and starts reading the paper. There is a stack of around 9 papers, international and local. He does this routine whenever he has the moment, whenever he has the chance, when he wakes up alone. He goes through the international business section, checking his stocks, seeing the rise and fall and what could be possibly bought or sold. He checks the politics of his home country, as well as in America. He muses aloud whether he should return to school. He never completed his business course at the university due to the Sabbat attack. Perhaps that will keep his mind occupied for a little while longer. Forgo the sleep that John hasn't felt but knows it must be coming. He has heard many of his age nipping off into torpor for a year or a decade when they run out of things to do. Stay occupied. Keep your mind whirring, your senses sharp, Sire always told him, and you will never fear the sleep. John's mood evaporates when he sees a local gazette, not a particularly broadsheet newspaper, not a particularly well circulated one, but there it is on the front page, his likeness, in statue form, with the title Miracle of the Projects. He goes and grabs another local paper, and there it is again. He starts scanning the article furiously. His hands clench. His eyes widen. He grinds his teeth, and the beast riles within him. Sometimes having an eidetic memory, having a mind that works so quickly, is a curse. For every possibility, every way in which this particular act will affect John, not only now, but in the future, in 10 years, in 20 years, in 1 hour. Every scenario in which this will humiliate him and cause his life no end of trouble. His face, the statue in the projects, which is being hailed as a miracle, sardonically. Politicians and community leaders are rallying against this travesty, this slap in the face of all those who donated money towards the project, to those that it was supposed to inspire, to stop the gang violence, to bring people together, has now brought them together, certainly, but all in anger. And that anger is focused, in part, on John. And I will roll my self-control. This will be outright humiliation, so I'll give it a DC 8. Barely containing himself, John throws the vitae across the floor. He crushes the coffee percolator in his hand, glass, and piping hot coffee splurt all over the kitchen. He tears at the newspaper and throws it to the ground. He takes his cane and starts smashing it against the work surface. The poor retainer recoils. And John turns. He slowly approaches the elderly woman. And with a quick strike, boosting blood into his strength and to his dexterity, he smashes the woman across the face with his cane, knocking her across. He starts to scream, not in panic, not in alarm, but in utter fury. He You think this is funny? You think you can laugh at me? Do you have any idea who I am? He throws the cane onto the ground, and with a flash, a scalpel appears in his hand. He lies across the woman and starts cutting into her face. I'll give you something to smile about! As he starts cutting away at pieces of flesh, eventually the blood starts flowing. The woman's screams gargle as bits of her cheek and lips get caught within her throat. His hands and shirt covered in blood, he forgoes the scalpel and starts tearing into her face with his hands, tearing chunks of still warm flesh away from her face, from her neck. She struggles against him, flapping her hands and striking him across the chest. He grabs them and breaks the arm in one swift motion. Blood still flowing towards his strength. He delights in breaking the bone and sinew, hearing the twisted snap of her arm. There is nothing but red mist. His hands elbow deep in the woman's chest cavity. John had been trained as a field medic in the war. He knows how to keep someone alive, even on the brink of death, for a long time. But even his immense skill cannot save the human body from this assault. And so he tears and strikes and eviscerates the poor mortal, taking out various organs to show to her before her last gurgling breath, and the light fades out of her eyes, and she is no longer a retainer, just a bloody lump, just matter and flesh. A problem for the ghouls to clean, more meat for the sausage factory. And John will roll humanity. And he fumbles. The beast whispers, yes, they will all pay. They will all pay. And any semblance of colour left within the young man's face, like the woman's spark of life, fades. The door bursts in. Jason, his bodyguard, looks on in horror at his master, deep within the sinew and the visceral carnage of his master. John gets up, covered in blood. Dark eyes stare deep. The ghoul vomits in a corner. Clean it up. End scene.